What is up, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Boost Gumps, and we're starting a new little bit of a, I suppose, a build you'd call it. The 33 that's been lurking in the background, a lot of you have seen in the background for quite a long time. So we're finally getting started on this, which has been a long time coming. The owner's been very patient, can't thank him enough. But before we jump in, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of backstory onto how this came about, why this car's been sitting here so long. So I agreed to take on this job quite a long time ago, probably a good 10 months ago. We actually started talking about this job. The car's been here for almost that long. You know, it's been quite a while. So when I first decided to take on this job, we talked about essentially doing a whole build, finishing it off. The deal was it was at some other mechanic's place that the owner knows pretty well. He started it, but there was some sort of issue and he couldn't finish it off pretty much. And so the owner had some power goals in mind. The car started off life as just an aspirated, so it's still got just the RB25DE box in it, still got 4-stud all round, you know, still on the NA brakes. So the idea was to pretty much build it into a full GTST. The owner's like, it's his sort of pride and joy. He wants to build it as a street car. It's not like a drift car sort of thing. He wants to have a nice street car with it. So it rocked up here. It was meant to be just a stock 25DE at that point, but it was delivered with a turbo that was bought, which is just one of those max speeding rods RB25 bolt-on turbos. And as a lot of you viewers have known, I've done quite a lot of extensive testing with that turbo on this platform, and just it was not going to cut it for the goals that we had for the power that we wanted to make. So the idea was to turn this thing into a full GTST, do a 25 box conversion, try and find 5-stud conversion and put GTST brakes on it, you know, get it up to the, you know, a nice 25 GTST sort of street car. Unfortunately, it got dropped here, and that's when prices just started going crazy. So, you know, we had this COVID, and then as everyone in the import scene knows, prices have just been going absolutely ludicrous. And I don't even care if it's someone else's money. I will not pay $3,000 for an unknown RB25DE gearbox. It just is not going to happen. I won't do it. So I've had heaps of issues, not only with the prices being ridiculous, but also just with how busy we've gotten here at the shop and how little time I've got between having a young family, trying to run the channel and trying to run the shop and do everything. You know, the time it takes to try and hunt down all these deals for secondhand parts, line them up, go and get them. We're fairly far away from everywhere here, so for me to go get parts, it's time consuming, and it's time I can't really charge for, because otherwise it would just be way too expensive. So I'm trying to do it as cheap as I can for this bloke. We're trying to do it as budget as we can. You know, it's probably the last job that I'll ever take on, trying to do this real sort of budget sort of thing. But when I took it on, I had a fair bit more time on my hands, and I had planned to do it sort of more of an after hours sort of deal, and try and do it for him. So we ended up sort of discussing that for his power goals, we need to do some different things. We've got some new injectors, we've got a multi-layer steel head gasket, we've got some ARP head studs now. While the head's off, we're going to do our rear head drain, which, as a lot of you know, is just a must-do for any RB25. While the head's off, it's a very easy modification that does help a great deal with some inherent issues of the RB25. So we've got to pull the sump off while we're at it to weld in our fittings for our new oil drain from the head. We've also got a new ECU, which is we're going for the Adaptronic plug-in ECU, just because it is the best value for money option on the market for these things. So we've got a nice Adaptronic plug-in ECU, and I also went and got us a Innovate AFR gauge so that we can have a wideband input for the Innovate and actually have some closed loop happening, because it will be a street car. So, and we've also got a new Mamba GT3076, which should easily be able to achieve our power goals with that turbo. It should be a really nice size for this as a bit of a street car. You know, we here deal Pulsar and Kinagawa. I would have been happy with a Kinagawa, but the owner was dead set on having a Mamba. He was super keen on having a Mamba, so we went for a Mamba instead. So with our new turbo setup, this thing should be right to go. We should be all good, and basically the plan is, at the end of the day, I don't have the time to hunt down these deals and try and go get the second-hand parts for it, like the brakes and the gearbox and stuff. They're just too freaking expensive at the moment. It's absolutely ludicrous. So we're going to do what we've got to do here and get the motor and box, get it all finished off. We've still got to do all the intake pipe work, all the exhaust, everything has to be done still. And then I'll tune it. We'll tune it just up to the point where it's going to be fairly safe for the 20DE box, and we'll just leave it there for now. But we'll have all of the equipment here to obviously go for quite a bit more power down the track when the owner does finally get a 25 box conversion in there, or something similar. You know, with the prices at this point, it's almost better off going to a CDO9 conversion or a TVD6 conversion or something like that. You're almost better off for it. But at the end of the day, we just don't have time to hunt that stuff down at the moment. We're way too busy. So we'll get in, smash this out, get it sorted from our part. The owner can get it back so that he can at least enjoy the car, and hopefully he can sort out, you know, his 5-stud and his brakes and stuff like that, because I just cannot find anything for a decent price. So that's where we're at with it. That's why it sat there for so long. I was hunting down parts for ages. I couldn't find anything for a decent price. I thought I had some brakes lined up at some point. I did have brakes lined up with a bloke, and you know, they ended up falling through while I was down there to get them. So that was pretty much the end of it for me as far as trying to get a lot of the secondhand stuff done. You know, we're a performance tuning and engine building shop. Something like this, where we're trying to hunt down secondhand parts, is not something we'd normally take on. Like I said, when I took the job on, I was in a bit of a different position. So that sort of was just the end of it. I'd wasted so much time trying to line up that deal, and it all fell through anyway. So we just don't have the time. So we'll do what we can. We'll do what we've got to do with our new parts, get it tuned, and hopefully the owner can sort out the other stuff he needs to get it, you know, to full R33DE+t T-spec. So I actually had already made a start on this way back. I did film it, but I'm not gonna put it in the video. All I did was get it in the workshop and start pulling it apart with what we were meant to do, because that was back before we decided we were gonna go for head studs and, you know, do all this little upgrades so that it had the potential to make decent power. So all I'd done was pull the cam covers off, pull the turbo off, inspect a few things. There was a few things in there that I was a bit unhappy about. So, you know, a few things like that. So, but at the end of the day, it's just a 25DE, as we all know, just a little bit higher compression. But same rods, same crank, perfectly capable of making the power we want to make. We've got a cheap Chinese stainless manifold, which should be fine for what we want to do for now. But as you can see, we've got no intake pipe work or anything. It's all in the boot of the car. He has supplied it. It's just cheap, you know, eBay stuff. But again, it does the job. But apart from that, it's just a 33 that's in the build. The interior is all quite nice. It should be a very nice car when it's finished, once it's all painted and everything. And we'll do our part to make sure that you know, the engine is running sweet and can handle the power that he wants to make with it eventually. We've got to sort out a throttle cable for our forward facing, for the throttle body there. It's just a Freddy forward facing. Pretty standard sort of RB25 on a budget, really. There's not really much more else to say about it. And yeah, decided to go for the Adaptronic modular plug-in, because I believe it is just the best value for money for an RB25 on the market. And you know, you look at that, it's about 1,600 bucks, I think, or 1,500 bucks for a plug-in, as opposed to, I think the Haltech's about $2,000. As great as it is, it's a lot more expensive. And then if you're looking at going full standalone wiring, then you're looking at another $3,000. You know, like it's quite expensive. Whereas the Adaptronic, very capable ECU. I'm a big fan of the Eugene software. I'm a big fan of the platform. I really do like Adaptronic. I like it to tune on, and they're a good price, and they just plug in and they work. So that's awesome. So anyway, I've got this in here now, finally, to get started on it. I'm not going to start on it now. I've got to go do some other stuff at the moment, but I got it in here so that I can come back tonight and start getting this thing sorted, because the owner has been waiting for quite a long time. I want to get it sorted for him. So yeah, back to now working nights as well as days to try and get through some things. I really wanted to stop doing it, but obviously, as a lot of you saw with that LS converter GQ that we did, it kicked our ass and we ended up weeks behind. That's why this thing, I was meant to actually start on this before Easter. I was hoping to have it finished just after Easter. And it's now halfway through May. I think it's about, yeah, May 13th today. So yeah, anyway, just got to do what we've got to do. Got to work nights to get it done. So I'll be back tonight to pull this motor out, and we'll check in then. All right, guys, it's 8 o'clock. We're back. Pull this gosh dang motor out. I really don't want to be here at all, not even a little bit. Don't want to do it. I want to go home. I want to go to bed. It's cold. I'm tired. Worked till 11 o'clock last night as well. It's been a long few days. Anyway, we've got to be honest with you. My camera battery is about to be flat, and this SD is about to be full, and I don't want to even do it, let alone film it. So I'm going to go ahead and not do that. Sorry, guys. I promise I'll film the more exciting things of actually doing modifications, but for now, I just want to get this freaking thing out of here and go home. So
it's cold.
It is very cold.
I wonder how much it costs to get like a big heater.
The whole heater.
For a whole shed.
Could have it run off solar.
You mean like work during the day?
Yeah.
That's, no.
You just got to keep the doors shut.
That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, almost ridiculous as working nights. This sucks ass. All right, guys. We did it. We fought, we persevered, we overcame. We did their extraction. We've done it. Now we can go home and go to bed, which is great. So it's 9:45. and we got it out, and yeah, same as a lot of cars of this sort of demographic. There's a lot of weird stuff that we really don't like that we've come across, so plenty of things to sort out on our way with this project. But here's an interesting thing that I thought you might like. This thing still has like the whole underbody, I suppose you call it a drip tray. It's like a bash plate, but it's plastic, but I've never seen one intact on a car of this vintage, so I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, that's pretty much the plan.
Didn't STD33 have one of them on it? It wasn't great, but...
No, I don't think it did. I don't know, I could be wrong, it's been a long time. But anyway, regardless, it's been a long night. I'm going home, going to bed. But we did it, it's done. Woo! That's a start. Next is to start pulling this thing apart. All right, guys, back out here this morning. As you can see over here, we've got our brand new fresh Mamba GDX 3076 11 blade front with a 4-inch anti-surge, and I got the T3.73 AR housing. I think I got the 0.7. I can't remember if I got the 0.7 or the 0.8. I was tossing up between the two, and I think I might have ended up opting for the 0.7 because it's still plenty enough with these things. They're efficient enough that it's going to make the power we want to make. But as we talked about, this thing's going to be a street car. We want a responsive street car. We don't want a dyno queen. So can't remember if I ended up going the 0.8 or the 0.7, but might have ended up going the 0.8 just to make sure we could get to our power goals eventually. But either way, awesome little turbo. It's going to be great. All right, guys, I'm just here doing a bit of a night shift. Pretty standard at the moment. Just pulling this RB down, getting the head off. I'm not going to film too much of the teardown process just because I just want to get it done. And it's not super exciting to watch anyway, just because it's the teardown process. It's always exciting to do the teardown process when something's gone wrong because it's cool to analyze what the hell happened. But when it's just a motor you're pulling apart, not much fun. But anyway, just wanted to chime in and say, Lord, am I glad that we decided to go this route, and I decided to pull the stuff off and actually, do these few upgrades that we're going to do, because holy crap, I've found some stuff that I'm glad I didn't just put it together and, try and tune it. This thing would have not gone very well. Have a look at this. That's legitimately a spring washer underneath a flat washer. Can't even make that up, it's wild. So anyway, yeah, it's pretty how you going. So we're going through a fair bit of stuff as I put it back together. And double doing probably a lot of things. But anyway, you get that. It is what it is. Just seems to be a Skyline thing. Mostly a Skyline thing. But anyway, I'm just going to continue on getting these manifolds off, get this head off. Just pull the injectors out. We've got 11mm top O-rings for a 14mm rail. And no bottom O-rings. Someone's put the bottom O-rings inside the manifold instead of actually seating them where they're meant to be. So, stuff's wild. Wild stuff you find. Could you just imagine if I just went to hit the key and fuel pressure came up the way those are? Here's some interesting stuff. I reckon this is probably just about the original timing belt on this motor. As you can see, it's very, very, very cracked. Yet again, another one of those things that I reckon probably would have let go. You can see how cracked it is. It's very deteriorated, it's very gone, so definitely going to have to order a new timing set, and given that, probably might do the water pump as well. I'll talk to the customer and just make sure it's alright for me to go ahead and do that. But yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, again, I'm just glad we went this way, and I'm finding all this stuff now rather than finding it on the dyno and lunching a motor. Alright guys, so we've finally got our head off. All is looking pretty good under here, really. It's all looking quite good, nothing alarming. A lot of carbon build-up, but that's fairly expected for an NA car. It's probably run on some pretty bad fuel. And who knows how many Ks it's got on it, I'm not too sure. But regardless, it's all apart, ready to go. We'll give the head a good clean up. I did end up just taking cams and lifting stuff out, obviously, just to eliminate the risk of any of that getting damaged or anything, You got exposed cams going on the machine shop, it's not very good. Plus I want to give the head a really good clean up, and I don't want the cams and lifters in there when I do that, so just took it all apart, but that's fine. And yeah, so I'll have to clean up the block surface. I'm going to prep the block surface myself. Show you how we do that as we go, and I'll get to the machine shop just to give that a swipe, so we've got a nice surface for our brand new head gasket, which is in that box. So another thing I wanted to quickly talk to you about is a lot of people doing NAs, going turbo route. They'll put as thick a head gasket as they can on there. Personally, I'm not a big fan. RBs have these two quench holders, pads or shoulders on either side of the cylinder. You can see that quench pads, and basically putting too much head gasket on, it has a negative effect on actually what the quench pads do is directing that air fuel mixture in towards the center of the plug for good flame propagation. So what you can find is even though you're dropping compression, you're actually still increasing your risk of detonation because of the way that the quench pads now are not doing what that were intended to do. So we don't like to go too thick. This thing, compression's not going to be a problem. You know, as long as it's running good fuel, don't put heaps of timing into it, it's going to be fine. That higher compression with the stock cams and the turbo that we've chosen, I reckon this thing's going to be an awesome street car. It's going to be another one of those things where it won't be a horsepower queen, but it should be super, super responsive and really fun to drive, which is the aim of the game. And then, further down the track, the injectors and everything are going to be well suited to go E85 and go for bigger power in E85 in this thing, which would not be a problem if he wants to go that way later on down the track. As I talked about though, maybe after he gets a gearbox upgrade and does some other things. So in this, guys, it's still going to be fine and still going to be bolt fun to drive. So yeah, should be good fun. A few things from this car would lead me to believe that it's completely stock. I reckon I'm probably the first person that's pulled this head off, honestly. The way that timing belt was, everything that I've seen under here, I reckon this is pretty much a completely as factory RB25. So give this a big clean up because it's got years worth of grime and grossness on it while the head's away, and I've still got to pull the sump off because I've got to actually weld in a bung or a fitting to receive our return from the head. So we've got to pull the sump off as well, so it'd be a good opportunity to clean all that out, have a good look over the bottom end, have a good feel of all the rods of the big ends, just make sure they feel alright. But just looking at the cams and the lifters and the lifter bores in the head and the bores in the block even, I reckon this thing's quite healthy. I don't think there's going to be a problem with it at all. There's nothing on the cam journals that would suggest that it's had any contaminants in the oil or anything's gone through it, so it's always a good sign. Always a good sign. But being that I reckon that this is probably all mostly stock, definitely going to put it to the owner that we should probably do the water pump while we're here as well. So, well, I've got to buy a timing set anyway, so I may as well buy one of the timing sets that includes a water pump and do that too, just as some preventative maintenance. And I will probably also do the rear main while I'm at it, and obviously it's going to get new cam seals when it goes back together. And I actually noticed after I pulled the balancer off, this is one of those really, really rare RBs where the timing gear is actually loose. So once I get that keyway out of that crank, that timing gear would just slide off. So I may even pull the oil pump off and put a new front main seal in it as well, just as preventative maintenance. Some RBs, anyone that works in RBs would know, sometimes these timing gears on the crank are absolute nightmares. They're a nightmare to get off. So it's really rare to get one that's not actually really, really seized on there. That's loose, it will just pull off. So may as well take advantage, pull the oil pump off, give it a clean up and put a new front main seal in it. And that way, it's all new seals, new head gasket, new head studs, you know. It's doing a fair bit. Doing a fair bit of work. A fair bit of work that's, yeah. Anyway, it'll be worth it when it's done. Be a cool ass car. Anyway, so we'll clean this head up, we'll get it to the machine shop, we'll check back in when it all gets back. Well, actually, we won't. It'll be before that, because I'll start working on this before the head gets back. Definitely getting squishy in this engine room, but LS, JZ, L67, 4H block there, RB. Crap everywhere. Alright guys, so I was just prepping this head ready to go to the machine shop tomorrow. I cleaned it up and I was just scraping off the gasket surfaces that are not going to get surfaced at the machine shop, like the intake and exhaust gasket. And I noticed when I was taking the manifold off that one of the bolts was missing. A lot of the bolts that were in there were pretty average, but there was one actually that was missing altogether, which I didn't really think twice about. And then when I was cleaning it up, I realized there was a lot of RTV around here. Which again, I didn't really think much of it. I just figured maybe someone had RTV'd the intake manifold at some point, it was leaking or something or not. And it wasn't until I started scraping the surface with the scraper that I noticed this. So yeah, she's I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see that there. So that there crack, it's also cracked through here. So this whole piece has just been cracked. Someone's done the dodgy and tried to silicone it all up. You can see it really obvious from the inside. Crack there. Might be able to see it, hold on. What am I doing with the camera? So. This is too hard to do from this side. Come over this side and do it for you. Alright, that's a bit better. So, you can see in there maybe, I don't know, it's hard to do all this at once. Especially with this camera that doesn't focus, but you can see where that's cracked. So, anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is the head is damaged and someone's done the dodgy and tried to repair it, just silicone it up before. So, not much I can really do about it. I'll talk to the machine shop tomorrow about whether they're able to actually weld that up and then maybe re-skim it. It's a bit of a tricky spot though. It's going to be a real prick to weld. But anyway, hopefully they can, because if not, we're going to be looking for another head, which is not ideal, and I'm assuming certainly not in the customer's budget. Yeah, it's not the nicest news to have to tell someone, but it is what it is. So anyway, that's why it was full of silicone. It's because someone's done the dodgy and siliconed it up to try and get away with it. But anyway, I must say once again, I can't iterate this enough. I'm so glad we went this way, because things like that timing belt, like all that stuff, I wouldn't have even known until I got it on the dyno, and everything probably would have gone south. It would have been another one of those cars that probably went on the dyno and we just had nothing but problems with. But anyway, all I can do is try my best to get it fixed, and if we can't, be looking for a new head. Which is a shame, because apart from that, that head's actually quite nice. It's in quite good condition. But anyway.